Origin of life. If you think about origin of life, there are actually two kinds of theory for a long time. One idea is biogenesis. Biogenesis means biological material can be generated only by biological material. Life forms only can be generated by another life. In contrast, abiogenesis is the theory of the biological form. Long time ago, in the beginning, they were generated from non-biological material. That's abiogenesis. This abiogenesis, in another terms, it is called as chemical evolution. Chemical evolution has a lot broader the field, but this abiogenesis is one important the important part of chemical evolution. Now let's think about the first life forms. First life form, usually we call Luca. Luca represent last universal common ancestor. That means most recent common ancestor of life. Now, if you imagine the primordial atmosphere, long time ago on Earth, the oxygen was very low, and instead, the hydrogen was very high. Methane, the simplest organic molecule, was also high. Ammonia was high too. And the environment was very hot, and also a lot of the thunder and a lot of the heat materials from the interior of Earth can provide a lot of energy sources. And utilizing these materials and energy, maybe those organic molecules could be generated. So this is a one hypothesis. Now, there is a Miller-Urey, two scientists tried to prove this hypothesis and mimic the primordial the Earth environment. And reaction chamber, they added this kind of the ancient the atmosphere materials, water, ammonia, methane gas, and electric spark, and then recycled this and generated materials were accumulated in this reservoir. And several days later, very interestingly, they found a lot of complicated, the so far we believed as complicated biomolecules such as amino acids, carbohydrate, and even nucleic acids materials were generated and accumulated. This kind of observation also were found in asteroid. In our solar system, there are many other the asteroids that are circulating, and some of them is fall into our Earth's atmosphere. And when they reach to the surface of Earth, we call them meteorite. And in the meteorite, we found also a lot of organic molecules. Quite complicated organic molecules were also found. So that implies that maybe the organic materials, even without the help of life, the energy or life structure, organic materials can be formed quite spontaneously utilizing this raw material and energy sources. These generated organic materials are accumulated in our ancient sea. So sea is composed of mainly water with some minerals together, and there may be some long chain carboxyl acid is also formed, and this carboxylate or fatty acid can act as a boundary of life forms, and they form this kind of life space. In the beginning, the single carboxyl acid composed the membrane is quite loose. That's why small organic molecules is freely in and out of this the boundary or the liposome. But once they start to form some kind of a polymer structure inside this the liposome, now they cannot get out. If this polymer concentration is go higher and higher, then osmotic pressure is also increased. They can absorb more water from outside, and then the size of liposome can be increased. This mimics the growth of a cell size. If this liposome size becomes too big, maybe the structural stability goes down, then maybe it's better to break this liposome into smaller other vesicles. Then this process mimicking maybe the cell division. Then this cycle, these smaller bubbles make more polymer and then generate the bigger and bigger vesicle. And if it reaches some critical point, then they can divide. So this kind of growth and division cycle can be repeated. Maybe in the beginning, the polymer structure inside this liposome may be random structure. But if there is any chance, some polymers, they can be formed, templated the synthesis. That means utilizing one polymer as a template and the other side can be synthesized. That means this opens the possibility of reproduction. Then this polymer structure is not randomly formed. Exactly the same structure can be formed and make its copies more and more. Now, this can be mimicking the reproduction of original structures. If these structures compete with the other random liposomes, the random liposomes cannot survive for long, and eventually they compete out. They will be removed from the environment, and those open space can be refilled with more of these reproducible the liposomes. Now, in this liposome, the polymer material is represent the identity of this the liposome structure, and this kind of transferable and also identity material we call gene. Now this gene in the beginning, maybe the RNA act as a gene material. In modern other life forms, DNA replaced the RNA as a more stable genetic materials. We believe this is one hypothesis of abiogenesis, generating the life forms from purely chemical environment.